Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into something that a lot of us feel, well, kind of anxious about. This feeling that our interests are all over the place. We're going to reframe that feeling and show you how it might actually be your greatest superpower. So let me just start by asking you a question. And be honest. Does your life feel like a collection of half-finished projects? Is there a guitar collecting dust in the corner? A website you were super excited to code for about a week? Maybe a sudden passionate urge to learn a new language that just fizzled out? If any of that sounds familiar, you've probably felt this very specific kind of shame. It's this nagging feeling that you lack the grit, that you can't just pick one lane and stay in it. Society even has a fancy-sounding word for it, dilettante, that basically means you're just dabbling.
And chances are, this is the phrase that pops into your head when you're feeling down about it. A jack of all trades is a master of none. We use it to beat ourselves up, right? We see our curiosity not as a strength, but as some kind of fundamental character flaw.
But what if I told you that's not the whole quote? Not even close. The part everyone leaves off changes everything. The full saying is, a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. Whoa, that ending completely flips the script, doesn't it?
So modern psychology is now catching up to this idea. This scattered feeling, it's not a defect. It's actually a sign of a highly adaptive brain, what some are calling an M-shaped mind. Your brain isn't failing. It's preparing you for a world where being a one-trick pony is actually a huge risk.
And this slide explains exactly why. The world used to be what you'd call a kind environment. Think of it like a game of golf. The rules are stable. If you practice one swing for 10,000 hours, you're going to win. It rewarded the I-shaped specialist, the person who dug one very deep hole of knowledge. But that's not our world anymore. We live in a wicked environment. The rules are changing constantly. And in this world, that deep specialization can actually be really fragile.
So, this is where your superpower kicks in. It's called far transfer. It's the ability to take an idea from one field and apply it to a totally different one. It's how real innovation happens. Think about a graphic designer who used to be a chef. They understand timing, layers, and presentation in a way that someone who only ever studied design just can't. They're connecting dots no one else can even see. Now, okay, this all sounds great, but it doesn't solve that feeling of being pulled in a million directions at once. The key to avoiding that burnout is something called serial mastery. You got to start thinking of your life in seasons. Maybe for 2 years you go deep on coding. That's a season. Then you pivot and go deep on public speaking. That's another season. You didn't quit coding, you just finished building one of the pillars of your M.
And get this, your diverse skills create something called redundancy, which is a massive biological advantage. Elephants, for example, almost never get cancer. Why? Because they have 20 times more copies of a key cancer-fighting gene than we do. If one gene fails, another one kicks in. Your scattered interests are your backup genes. If AI automates your main gig, but you also understand gardening and can fix an engine, you're not fragile. You're what we call anti-fragile.
All right, enough with the theory. Let's make this practical. It's time to actually sit down and draw out your own personal M-map. So step 1, just make a big list. The only rule is no judging yourself. Just write it all down. Use these 3 prompts to get you started. What skills have you actually studied for 6 months or more? What things do you just find yourself doing or reading about for fun? And finally, what do people always ask you for help with? Okay, now look at that big, messy list. We're going to find your pillars. You're looking for 3 to 5 core skills. And here's the test. A true pillar has to meet at least 2 of these 3 criteria. 1, you get the core ideas, not just the surface-level stuff. 2, you've actually used it to help another person. And 3, you feel energized doing it, even when it gets tough. These are the main vertical lines of your personal M.
This next step is really important. Don't just give your pillars a generic name. Name them based on their purpose. So instead of just writing, maybe it's writing to make complicated ideas simple. Instead of psychology, maybe it's understanding why people make the choices they do. See the difference? You're turning a skill into a value statement.
And now we get to the really exciting part. Because your power, your unique value in the world, it isn't in the individual pillars. It's in the bridges you build between them. This is where you find your purpose. So how do you find that bridge? Ask yourself these questions. What's the one problem you're always thinking about, even when you're just relaxing? What's that thing that really annoys you when other people just don't get it? And maybe the biggest clue of all, who are the people you really genuinely want to help? Your answers point to the theme that connects all your skills.
And then, all of this comes together in one simple but incredibly powerful sentence, your personal value formula. I help a certain group of people solve a certain problem by combining Pillar A, Pillar B, and Pillar C. For example, I help new managers lead their teams with confidence by combining storytelling, data analysis, and coaching. That is something only you can offer.
Okay, but to stop yourself from falling back into that old, scattered feeling, you have to channel all this new energy. So, for the next 90 days, commit to expressing your value through just one medium. That's it, just one. You can either write about it, you can speak about it, or you can build something. This focus is how you actually make progress.
And finally, let's talk about how to make this a real sustainable superpower. It really comes down to avoiding a few common mental traps that will try to pull you back into that old way of thinking.
You really have to watch out for these 3. First is the good enough trap, that voice that tells you to wait until you're a perfect expert before you share anything. Don't listen to it. Second is the perfect job trap. Stop looking for a job title that fits you. You need to build your own role based on your value. And finally, the biggest one, the comparison trap. Stop measuring your M-shaped journey with a specialist's I-shaped ruler. You're running a completely different race.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. Just answer it quickly, go with your gut. If you didn't have to worry about money for the next 6 months, what would you do? Every single day. That thing that just popped into your head, that's it. That's the true core of your M-shaped mind. Go do that.